Oh, good afternoon. Happy Monday, everyone. I'm super excited for you to join me today for today's summer PD series. This is channel is Tech Tips 411, and I'm Jennifer Hall, and I'm going to talk to you about Office 365 tips and tricks. So if this is your first time to the channel and you've stumbled across this video, thanks for tuning in, checking it out. If you're here live, let me know by dropping your name in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And if you're watching this from the future, thanks so much for checking it out. So for those of you that I don't know, my name is Jennifer Hall, and I'm an educational technology specialist with Atlanta Public Schools. And what that means is I provide technology training for teachers around the district, and I push into classrooms and help facilitate tech integrated lessons. And I collaborate and plan with teachers to better infuse technology effectively in their standards-based lessons. So love my job. It's great to work with teachers and work with students. So thank you so much for checking out this session today. Basic goals are we're just going to gain some tips and tricks for using Office 365 apps. So I'm going to kind of point out a couple of features that I think are beneficial. Maybe you know about them, maybe you don't. And maybe an app or two that you might not be using that's part of the Office 365 suite. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in. So for those of you that might not know how to get to your Office 365, if you're one of my APS teachers, you can log in through my backpack. That's our student support portal, and you can access Office 365 right there. If you're not in Atlanta Public Schools, just however you log into your Office 365 apps, you should see this main app dashboard, which will show you the main apps that most teachers are using: your Outlook, your OneDrive, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, SharePoint, Teams, Class Notebook, Sway, Forms, and then there's also an All Apps, and we're going to look at kind of what's available there as well. So awesome. I've got some folks here. Pam says she is here and ready to learn. Love it. Thanks, Pam. And I got Lynn here and checking in from Alabama. Love it. I was born in Alabama. Fun little trivia there. I was born in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and then moved to Florida when I was a kid. So I grew up as a Floridian, but I do claim that I was born in Alabama. All right. So let's take a look here. So one of the things I want to point out, most of you guys are probably familiar with a lot of these tools, but some things that I think that a lot of teachers don't realize, we use Office 365 mainly in the cloud, meaning we use Word online and PowerPoint online to engage our learners. The benefit of doing that means that if I'm working online, I don't have to worry about it. It's going to save in the cloud and I can log in on different devices. Now you can download and work on things and use it locally on your computer, but when we don't know what our students' device situation is, it's beneficial for them to get comfortable with using the online version of these tools. So one of the first things that I noticed playing around with PowerPoint online is that there's up at the top, and most people probably don't notice it, that there's by default, the Simplified ribbon is turned on. And you might be like, well, what does that mean? The Simplified ribbon, these are all your tools right here that you have access to. And you want to be able to see some more options, and some of the things are hidden, and you have to kind of click on that more option. So at the very top up here, you'll see where it says Simplified ribbon. I can turn that off. And when I do, I'm going to get that lower toolbar, which is going to give me a few more options. And I think that that might be beneficial for educators as well as students, because you might be like, well, how do I get to some of these things? They don't show up as readily as available. And for a teacher, one of the tools we're going to talk about, it's hidden under that more. And if you turn off the Simplified ribbon, you're going to see some extra features inside of your online version of PowerPoint. So talking about PowerPoint, this is exciting news. It was released on Friday. There was a tweet on Friday talking about it's gone live, and that is PowerPoint Live. And if you're not sure what PowerPoint Live is, it's the ability for a participant to scan. In fact, if I turned it on right now, you could scan and see my presentation, and it becomes now an interactive presentation. And that means that the participants will see the presentation on your own device. The benefit of that is you're going to see some extra features, including if I turn on this closed captioning, which is a powerful tool for our learners. Notice what happened. I toggle down here and turn on closed captioning. If I'm a participant in a session, that's going to be on my local device that I'm looking at on my computer screen, which makes it a little bit easier for students and even participants in trainings to follow along. So notice how slick that is. You can see my, as I'm speaking, it's keeping up with me, and that's a really great tool. And when you go live for your presentations, turning on that feature is definitely something you want to do with your diverse learners. So how I turn that on, down here in present mode, I can turn on closed captioning. I turned it off here. Let's turn it back on. Let's go back one. And I can hit these anytime you see the more option. Turn those back on. Anytime you see the more option, and it just bumped my slide deck up just a little bit so we could see everything. But hit these 3 dots right here and I've got some options. So if I go in here to my subtitles, notice I can choose where they go. I can choose if I want them to be at the top or the bottom, below or above the side. So I mean, just depending on where if you're presenting live or if you're presenting in Google Meet or Microsoft Teams, you can choose, presenting. I got to be clear. See how it corrected it? Printing it. Realize I was saying presenting. Got to love that. Great for our language learners, great for our visual students that sometimes auditory, they don't register as well, but being able to see the text going on across the screen helps them. But I can also go here to more settings and I can choose language spoken is English, the subtitle language. Check this out. I can have it translate into another language. So if you have native Spanish speakers in your class and you want to change this, let's give it a try. We're going to do this live. This is always fun when you try something new here. We're going to do it live. Here we're going to go to Spanish. So what it's going to do is I can choose that and it lets me pick my microphone so I can make sure that it's the right one. And I'm going to click OK. And now when I'm speaking, look at that. It translated it for me. So now in a classroom where you have native Spanish speakers, or maybe you've got students that just moved from France and so you're speaking Francais and you want to do that, you can go in and change that. Just curious, in the chat window, drop in there. Did you know that not only could you turn on live captioning, but you could turn it into me speaking in English and it translating in Spanish? How awesome is that? Would this not also work in a language class? Just wondering, is anybody use this, or did you know that that was an option? So I'm going to go back to that more, and I'm going to go up here and I'm going to change my subtitles options, more settings, and I can turn this back to my English. Let's go back here. There we go. And back to English. Just curious. In the chat, let me know if you have tried that, or do you think that this would be beneficial for your learners? Just curious. I think it's extremely powerful. Closed captioning just in general is great because it helps me stay focused. It helps me pick up on key vocabulary in a presentation, and having this live option now. So check out PowerPoint Live, the ability to have people join. And if you're familiar with Nearpod and having students join your session, or PairDeck joining your session, and if you've used Google Slides as well, that's an option in Slides. So the idea that you can join your session or have students join your session. All right, so this is just a little animated GIF that I did as a demo to show how it would capture my slides, which super cool, the live captioning option. So I just mentioned PairDeck. So how many of you guys are PairDeck users? I'm just curious. PairDeck is an awesome, awesome, awesome tool that allows students to participate in a session. So initially, PairDeck was created and used with Google Slides. So if you're a Google Slides user, oh, I've got a great question. No way, that is crazy. Oh, I think Pam is referring to the fact that I spoke in English and it translated to Spanish. That was amazing, right? Would work if you record yourself and do a record version for the students. Yes. So here's an idea. You can screen record you doing a PowerPoint, and you could use that option and it would capture that. So I did an animated GIF. So I was just talking and doing my PowerPoint, and I recorded it using a GIF maker, but you could do a screen recording tool like Screencastify or Loom, or if you have a native screen recording tool on your Mac or your Windows device. And if you want to know more about screen recording tools, guess what? I'm going to be talking about those tomorrow during my session at 2 tomorrow. So you could record that, and the fact that the captions are built in is a game changer because you don't have to do a separate tool to get your captioning. All right, awesome. So let's talk about PairDeck. So PairDeck is an interactive tool that lets students respond and engage in your session. So it started out as a Google Slides tool, and guess what? In the last, I want to say 6 months, don't quote me on that, they've added the functionality into Microsoft PowerPoint, and it works on PowerPoint Online, which is amazing, which means if you've got your PowerPoints all ready to go and you've had these presentations ready for, your different units and stuff, and now you can level up and have them be interactive activities. And that works both as a in-person session if students have devices, or you can put them in pairs to work on it. No pun intended. work in pairs using PairDeck. But what you can also do is it works great for virtual learning. So if you are doing your lessons in Zoom or Microsoft Teams, you could have your students participate because they're already on a device, and you can push out your assignment, your presentation using PairDeck. What's great though is that PairDeck allows you to integrate questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go out of the presentation real quick so that we can see what that looks like inside. So I'm going to end show. I'm going to go back over here. I got a bunch of different tabs going on here, so bear with me here. I'm going to share my screen and grab some more stuff here. I got a whole bunch of good stuff going on here. So I'm going to go in here to my PowerPoint. This is now PowerPoint Online. I was in the local PowerPoint, and we're going to come back to that in a second. But so I can open up, here is the PowerPoint presentation. Oh, Pam has a great question. Can you edit the captions if it doesn't quite catch the exact wording prior to saving? It's automatically correcting it. I don't know. I love that you've challenged me here. I don't know if you can go in and edit the text that goes with it. I'm going to think it's going to auto-correct based on your natural speaking, and then students would recognize that. Yeah, I don't think you can change that. Great question, though. All right, so I'm here in my PowerPoint Online, and I want to hit this drop down here, and I've got lots of little options here, and I want to go down here where you can see more. I've got so many different things here. We're going to make this smaller, and that gives me some more tool options. There we go. There, it automatically makes it super big screen. All right, so if I go to this 3 and the more, there's PairDeck. Now, if PairDeck is not turned on in your district, you need to make sure that the add-on has been added into Microsoft PowerPoint at your school domain. So I'm going to open up PairDeck, and what it does, and I can go here, I can log into my PairDeck account. Of course, it's going to say, do you remember me? And yes, I'm going to log in as a teacher, and it's going to single sign-on, authorize that I want to use this with my learners. Don't laugh if it pauses. It's going to probably hit me up and say, hey, you got to put in your passcode. It does it every time. Let's see here. Hooray. There we go. Go back to my PowerPoint. So I'm in. Magic is happening. So now what I can do is I can go in here, and they have a template library. And again, if you're not familiar with PairDeck, it is a super cool tool that allows me to bring in activities throughout a presentation I've already created. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I can open up that presentation, and then I can drop in some different things. So what I can do is I can choose to ask students a question, and I can ask them a test question, or excuse me, text-based question. I can ask them a choice question, multiple choice number. I can link to websites, a resource. There's a draw activity. I've got all sorts of options. So I can also go up here, and I can choose to take a look at the template library. This is magical right here. So if I go into the template library, I can pull in different ones that I want. So I'm going to make sure, log in. Magic is happening. There we go. I can create a presentation. I can choose a prompt, or I can look at my different templates. So I want to take a look at, there's the PowerPoint that I'm in, so I can present. So look, it linked to my OneDrive, and I can do that. So I can explore. Hold on, I want to get to my templates here. I'll drop in here. Let's take a look at this prompt one. So as you can see, I can ask text, draggable, multiple choice drawing, draggable, draggable, draggable. Look at how it's organized. Beginning of class, during class, or end of class. So this is helping you go ahead and pre-create those starter activities, those just mid-session check-ins. And it also allows for you to assess their learning at the end of a session. So I can go in and pick any one of these templates, and they've got a couple more blank options. Look at this: Venn diagram, draggable drop, true, false. Any of these are ready to go. And what I can do is I can just grab one of these. So if I wanted a text-based one, it's going to put that in there, and I can go and ask that question. And I just started a brand new session, so I can join and do that. But how cool is that, that now I can have my students engage with that that tool. So I notice I've got some other templates here: critical thinking, SEL. totally integrated inside of PowerPoint. So if you were using PairDeck with Google Slides, now it's available in PowerPoint. And I think that is a super powerful tool you're going to want to use with your learners. Any questions on miss the PairDeck opening? Oh, what, where you go into PairDeck? Let me go back here. Present with PairDeck. I went in and picked another template, but I can choose to do student paste or an instructor paste. And if I want to go instructor paste, that means I'm leading the session, or student paste means I could put this in I could put it in my Microsoft team, a Google Classroom, or however you want to share it out, send it out with Remind for students to participate. But I'm going to go with instructor paste, and it's going to open it up. And then you're going to have them join with the join.pd.com, and it's going to link to that presentation right there. And I love that PairDeck always has like the letters you have to use to join, and then they have a word for each one. So it kind of helps students with joining. There we go. So that's presentation open, and I'm good to go. So that's how you use it inside of PairDeck using PowerPoint. Great question. All right. So since we're hopping back and forth, I'm making sure I am back in business here. And we're going to hop back over here. Multitasking here with different screens and different things. So since I was using the native one, because I had a little video clip in there I wanted to show you guys, I'm hopping back and forth. So bear with me here. So let's see here. That should be the right one. And there we go. All right. So we talked about PairDeck. Let's take a look at some other tools. OneNote Class Notebook is one of my favorite tools when we talk about interactive notebooks. And a lot of teachers are like, oh, I didn't think about using that. Or maybe you're a Google user and a Microsoft user. Like in our district, we are very fortunate that we have access to both suites. So we kind of mix and match based on what our students need. So at one of my schools, they've said that for all the math and science interactive notebooks that they want students to keep, for next year, they want it to be in OneNote Class Notebook. Now, the benefit of that, if you haven't already used OneNote, OneNote is a great way for you to organize your tools and resources and just to take notes. Like you can take notes on an iPad or an Android device, or if you've got a touch laptop, or you're just really good at typing, you can do that as well. I use it when I go to conferences. I use my iPad to take notes on my mobile device. You'll see me taking notes on an iPad straight away. And I love that because it lives in the cloud. I can access those notes at any time. So a benefit of having those notes would be the fact that or using OneNote is that I can organize my resources. And a lot of students struggle with their ability to organize thoughts. I don't know about you. I was terrible as a student in terms of being able to keep up with my notes and toggle back, like keep up with stuff. Like, so I would leave notes in my notebook. They were in my notebook. I'd leave my notebook at school. But because this is web-based, this is going to make life a lot easier for students. So actually, let's take a look at, if you're not familiar with Class Notebook, we're going to take a look over there real quick. So this is me inside my notebook. And what you can do is the difference between a OneNote notebook and a Class Notebook is the fact that it's going to create a section for every single student. The benefit of that is you have a collaborative section for you and students. You can put information in there. You can share stuff. It can be a collaborative space. Then you can also have your resources section. And the benefit of that is I can push stuff in there that students need. So my syllabus, I can put tutorial videos as I'm adding them, and study guides, anything like that. And then each student will have their own individual section. Think of it like the old school 3-ring binder with the 5 sections in it. I don't know about you. Back in the day, we carried those Trapper Keeper notebooks. I'm aging myself for those. I had the Trapper Keeper, and then you had to have like the 5 dividers. And then if you had more classes or you needed more dividers, you'd get the 10-pack, right? So that you could divide all of your stuff in your notebook. Now, the advantage here is that when I became a teacher, I don't know about you, how many of you guys do notebook checks? I mean, obviously we're, out and we don't know what virtual learning is going to look like, but old school teachers like me, we would do notebook checks, and we'd be like, I need to see how you organize your stuff. OneNote Class Notebook means I don't have to lug all those notebooks home, I can check on my students online, and I can actually drop in individual support resources. It's great for differentiation. So I can set up my notebook to have different sections. That means that my students will all have a class notes section, a homework section, a project section, quizzes, resources. You can choose what those sections are going to be, and you can differentiate based on your learners. So let's go ahead and open up this notebook and take a look at what that looks like. And it's thinking, magic is happening. So I can have there's that collaboration space, there's that content library and all of that. So as a student, I can add more sections. I can add my own pages. I can label them, and it automatically dates them so you know when you created that page. But what's really powerful, and I'm going to talk about Immersive Reader. If you're not familiar with Immersive Reader, I'm going to use an example here, or I'm going to go and find the first article. Oh, wow. Didn't pick this, but this is really exciting news today. It's nice to see some good news in the news. So if I wanted to grab this article for students to read, and I want them to have access to, I'm just going to grab this first couple of paragraphs, copy this, and I bring it into my notebook. I'm going to hit paste. So Control C, Control V, there we go. And it even pulls in the hyperlink. So this is really cool if you have like tools like Common Lit that you're using. You want to bring in an article from BrainPop or somewhere else that you're bringing in some text. If I copy and paste it into my OneNote notebook, now what I can do is I can go to View, and now I've got Immersive Reader. And if you're not familiar with Immersive Reader, this is magical. And as a former language arts teacher, to me, this is a game changer. So I'm going to give this a title up here, Supreme. Can't type, just reminder, guys. So now I brought this in, and I can go up here and I can choose to, I missed the because it was upper font capitalized, whatever. So I've got my couple of paragraphs. I'm going to go to View, and I'm going to choose Immersive Reader. And when I click on Immersive Reader, now what was an article that might have been a challenge for me to read, I now have access to this amazing tool. And Immersive Reader is in a bunch of other tools, and we're going to talk about that. But what I can do here is I can bring this up. So notice I've got the text on the screen. I can go up here and I can adjust the settings. I'm going to go ahead because it's doing all the good stuff here. I can go in here and I can say, play this.
The Supreme Court ruled Monday that a landmark civil rights law protects gay, lesbian, and transgender people from discrimination in employment, a resounding victory for LGBT rights from a conservative.
So this is reading aloud. So for our language learners, for our struggling readers, I've now made this text accessible. So what I do as a student is I can go in here and I can change these. I can change the settings. If I want it, I prefer male or female voice. Maybe I want to speed it up and have it more natural, or I want it to go faster, or I need it to go slower. I can control this stuff right here. I can go up here and change some options. So I can adjust the text size. Maybe I have a visual impairment and I need to adjust this. Smaller, larger. I can increase the spacing. That's traditional spacing. I can increase it so it makes it more accessible for me to read. I've already tagged Comic Sans because that's a little bit easier right there for dyslexic readers, but I have options here for different fonts if need be. I can also go up here and I've checked the black background. I have a colleague that I work with that has a visual discrimination issue, needs everything, one, larger, and second, to have black background because the brightness factor on a white background can be really harsh on people's eyes. So I can go in here and change this based on my needs. And once I go in and set this up once, the next time I go into my OneNote notebook, it's going to remember that, which is really cool. So I can go in here and do that. I can go over here to this magic wand. As a former ELA teacher, this is magical. I can have it identify syllables. I can have it identify the parts of speech. So for your emerging language learners, for your younger students, this right here is a game changer. I think it's awesome. You can customize and change these colors, or they can make their own code, or you can make a custom code that you want to use with your learners so that they know. So when I used to do like parts of speech, and I would also do figurative language, we had a color code system in my class. So that's pretty awesome right there. So I can turn that on or off. So I, as the teacher, am not going to turn that on or off. My students that need the support, they're going to determine how much support they need. So I can go in and customize that. But here's the game changer. Let's go over here and take a look at this magical book over here. So if I'm a learner and I struggle with a bunch of text on the screen, I can choose my line focus, which is going to help me when I'm reading. So this is really good for my younger learners, my language learners and my emerging learners. So right here, I can go in and I can have this be by line. And when I go to play it, watch this.
The court decided by a 6-3 vote that a key provision of the Civil Rights Act of 1960.
Now I sped her up. She's really talking really fast right there. But as you can see, it's now allowing me to focus. It's highlighting those words. So that's going to help me as I'm exploring that text, any content that I'm encountering. So I'm going to turn off line focus, leave that back on. So here's the other part. Now I want to choose the language. So we talked about how PowerPoint, I could go in and I could speak in English and it would translate to Spanish, which is fantastic because I'll be honest, I did not pay as much attention in Spanish as I should have. I realize now I should have paid more attention. That's okay. I'm going to go in here and change this language. So maybe I want my learner, I have a young student that just joined my class and they have moved from France and I don't speak French. So therefore, but I want to make this accessible to them. They can use Immersive Reader and I can go in here and I can say, can do the word if I want to, or do the whole document. So now this entire document has now been translated into French. That alone to me is magical. I can also go down here and hit play.
La Cour suprême a statué l'indique une loi historique sur les droits civiques protège les personnes gays.
So now it's also going to read it to me in French. That is amazing. To have that kind of access. So what's cool about Immersive Reader is it's available inside of PowerPoint. It's available inside of Microsoft Word, but it's also been added to other third-party apps. My personal favorite, it's embedded in Wakelet, and I'm going to talk about that, but it's also in Flipgrid. It's also in Bunchy. There's like tons of different tools. Maybe you know some other tools. What tools are you heard of or you've seen that magical Immersive Reader button available in? I'm curious. So that's a little bit about how we can use Teams and how we can use the power of Immersive Reader inside of Teams. So now I can share the same content to all my learners, but my learners can go in and address and use it based on the needs that they have. Okay. So we're hopping back and forth here. We're making sure we don't forget anything. Let's see here. So we got OneNote. We got that. Very cool. FYI, if you did not know, this is pretty cool. So Immersive Reader is built into the Edge browser if you use the Edge browser. But we have a lot of people that use Google Chrome because of all the extensions they want to have access to. So there's an unofficial, notice it says unofficial Immersive Reader Chrome extension. And the link is, I'm going to make sure that it's in the description of this video. You can go in and you can actually use Immersive Reader on any website. So that's pretty magical. It is built in on Edge if you're using Edge, but if you're using Chrome, it's pretty cool to have that extension. All right. I got my teammate here, Natasha. Thanks so much for tuning in, Natasha. Flipgrid, yes. OneNote, yes. Word, awesome. She also says Bunchy. I was correct on Bunchy. If I said that right. Any other tools that are standing out? Oh, you know what else it's in? It's in the Merge Cube. The Merge Explorer app, it has Immersive Reader built in, which is magical. So then you got Immersive Reader and AR. Awesome. All right, so let's take a look at some other tools here. Magic is thinking here. All right, there we go. Next. All right, so Wakelet, I mentioned the fact that Wakelet has Immersive Reader built in. If you're not familiar with Wakelet, I've got an entire session on Wakelet that I will put in the description that you can check out if you want to do a deep dive. But what's great about Wakelet is you can do two things. One, it's got the Immersive Reader integrated, but also it works and you can embed it inside of your OneNote notebook. And you can also embed it inside of a channel inside of Teams. And we're going to talk about Teams here. So real quick, let's take a look at, I love that my Twitter friends and my work friends are connecting down here. This is awesome. Small world. All right, we're going to hop back out of here and we're going to take a look at Wakelet. So if I go in here to this Wakelet collection here, I grab that link inside of Wakelet. Anytime you see this, and this is where the magic happens. So I'm going to go larger so we can see it, since the PowerPoint was being a little ornery there. All right, so if anytime you see this right here, it's going to bring up Immersive Reader. So if I click on this, it brought it up, and there it is. So I can play this.
Triangular flag engage instruction.
It even reads the emojis. So I've embedded these emojis inside of my Wakelet, and it reads it out loud, which means this is completely accessible for visually impaired learners. So now,
Triangular
flag engage instructions and or resource. S thumbs up use emojis for bullet points.
So that is my template for using, if you're not familiar with it, but the idea of a hyperdoc is a self-paced lesson, and I've put it inside of a Wakelet collection. And the benefit of doing that means I can put my engage, my explore, my explain, my elaborate, my evaluate, my entire 5E model lesson inside of Wakelet, and it's got the Immersive Reader built in, which means that this lesson is accessible for all learners. And then I can take this and embed it inside of a class notebook, or I can embed it into a channel on one of my Microsoft Teams. So if you've not checked out Wakelet, definitely check it out. It really is a cool tool. And the fact that it has a Mercer Reader built in, to me, is a game changer. All right, let's close out of that. And let's hop over here. All right, we talked about OneNote. I'm going to close out the windows. That way I don't go back to the ones I've already done. So here we go. This is Microsoft Teams. And if you haven't used Microsoft Teams, it is your all-in-one hub for your class. So you can create a team based on your learners. So it could be for your classes, or it could be for your PLCs. It could be for your content area teams. It could be for the entire school. But what's really cool is I can go in here. And if you're not familiar with Teams, I've got a Getting Started with Teams video. I'll put the link in the description that you can check out. But what I want to point out that's really cool is that how you can embed different things like Wakelet. So if I go up here and I want to add a new channel, I can search for an option and I can add in Wakelet as a channel. By adding Wakelet, that means I can go in and I can embed my Wakelets right here. So I can go in and I'm going to say, post this in. Oh, wait, it's my text. Let me go back. Let's cancel that real quick. Let's go back in and get it. I had it saved before, and then I got excited and went and copied that article to bring in and play. So let's go here. So maybe I want this AR/VR one. Let's do this one. So I'm going to go in here. If you're interested in AR/VR, this is a collection I put together all about different tools you can use in the classroom. So I'm going to copy this collection. I'm going to go back to my team. And I'm going to say that I've added my Wakelet, right? I'm going to hit here, paste that in. And post this to a channel tab. Come on. Is it not going to cooperate? This is not fun when it doesn't want to do this live for me here. Wakelet. Post to the channel, public or unlisted Wakelet. It's public, so it should work. Is it open? Maybe that's why. Let's double check here. It's out on the world. All right. Gotta love when you try things and it decides to not cooperate. Now I could push it directly into my Teams, which is pretty cool, but I want to try this one more time. And if it does not cooperate, then we will move on to the next thing here. I want to open up Wakelet. I tried this before. And it could be that my internet is on the struggle bus. All right, yeah, it's not letting me save it. I don't know why. Theoretically, and it works where you can add it there and it will live in your team. I don't know why it's not cooperating. I apologize, guys. But you can also push it directly from here and log in. So if I go to Teams, I could push it that way. I was just trying to copy and paste it in as a channel. So it's going to prompt me to log in, share to a channel, create an assignment. So I could do it that way. So you've got options of ways to do it. So let's go ahead and close out of that. But you theoretically can also just copy and paste it in there as well. So other tools I want to make sure that we cover here. All right, I'm just going to scroll this way here. We got that. We got Teams. We got Teams. All right, couple of things I want to make sure that we know are available. How many of you guys are using Word to use the dictate feature in Microsoft Word? That to me is magical, because if I'm a student, and let's go back to our waffle up here, and I'm just going to open up Word and try this real quick. If I'm a student and for me, I'm terrible at typing, and I tell everyone that as much as I'm a tech person, the struggle is real when it comes to typing, but my thoughts are in my head. And a lot of our students are the same way. They are articulate. They know how to communicate what they're saying, but they really, when they get in front of a blank screen like this, they really can have a struggle with it. So what I can do is up here is this little microphone, and a lot of people don't pay attention to it. I can turn on the microphone, and as I'm speaking, it's going to dictate. So for your diverse learners in your classroom, they can talk through their thinking. They can express what they're learning, put it down on paper, by using the dictate feature, that little microphone that's hiding up there. And I'm using the web version right here. And as you can see, it's still capturing what I'm saying. And I'm going to go ahead and stop right there. And I can go in and obviously I can add in punctuation, and I can go in and I can clean that up a little bit. But studies have shown that our brains function and move faster than our ability to type, even the fastest typists. So the ability for me to go in and use that dictate feature, I think, is a game changer. So the other cool thing is, so I've already dictated this and it's kind of a hot mess and I need to clean it up. I can also use the translate feature. And I'm going to go up here to review, and that's where it's hidden. So you got to know your tabs. I'm going to go to review. And I can do the more. Hold on, wait for it. I can check my accessibility. I can make sure that what I've included in here is touching on accessibility, that I have not included anything that won't be that makes it unavailable for other students. And I want to see here, all right, waiting for it. Let's see. There's my translate. I can choose to translate this section or translate the entire document. When I choose to translate this entire document, it's going to grab everything from English, and I want to translate this to German. Translate that. Now, obviously, I would need to clean this up first and put the punctuation and all that good stuff in English. But now look what it's done. It went in and translated that entire document into another language. So that's really good for our language learners to be able to translate documents that we've written for our English speaking students, and we want to go in and translate it. And it's pretty accurate, which is pretty cool. So questions so far, we've kind of hopped around, talked about a couple of different tips and tricks and features and tools that I think are really, really powerful that you want to make sure that you're taking a look at. There's that ability to translate. The other thing that's really cool is the research option. Has anyone used that research option? If you're a Google Docs user, you might have seen Explore, which allows you to look for things. But if I go back to my document here, we're going to go here. And there's a references tab up here. So I use the example of SpaceX. I don't know about you guys. Did you guys take a look? Again, remember, can't type. Did you guys watch the SpaceX launch? Maybe you want to know, I have to write a paper about it. I need to learn some more. So I can go up here and I can select this and I can go to references, and it realizes I want to look that up. So I want to do smart lookup. And when I do that, it's going to do some magical stuff. And it's going to go out, it's going to use Bing to search, and it's going to pull up web results and images and everything based on that key term that I've used to search. So I don't have to leave my document in order for me to go in. I see that someone said, oh, Pam says, some districts block Google Translate. Wonder if this is safer. Since it's natively built into Word, I think that it might be more, it might, I mean, obviously safer because it's just staying there natively in the app. Great question. So what do you think about this reference option here? I can go in, I can search for stuff. I can bring in images without having to leave Word. So I think that that is definitely a really cool option. So I'm going to go here and close out a couple more tabs. Still got tabs galore going on here because I would be remiss if I don't mention the one last thing I want to talk about here. Let's see here. All right, two more things. Hang in with me. So the next one is the Whiteboard app. Is anyone familiar or know that there was a Microsoft Whiteboard app? My Google users have been using Jamboard to do math activities. But what's really cool is I can go up here under my apps, and you'll see that I can go to all apps, and it's going to bring up all the magical stuff. And if you go down here, and a lot of people, there's tons, we could be here for hours talking about all the apps. But if I choose to open up the Whiteboard app, this is a collaborative whiteboard app that allows me to access it from mobile devices anywhere that's web-based. And it is, and I can go in and I can doodle on this. I've got tools. Now, this is a more, true whiteboard app in terms of my options are just annotation. So I literally can just use markers and doodle on it. But as a math teacher, you could use this if you're using Microsoft tools. You could use this, and you can actually use your mobile app, and you can annotate on the app using your phone. And then it would appear on the screen, because what's cool is I can go up here and I can choose to share and get the create sharing link and allow people to watch it. So you could bring this into a live virtual lesson. Okay. So I think it is a really cool tool to use, the Whiteboard app. A lot of people didn't know it was available. And if you, my Google users were like, yes, I can use Jamboard. And I wanted to point out that this was available if you are exclusively a Microsoft tool user and you wanted a whiteboard app. So there's that. And then last but not least, 2 more. See, this is like App Slam. This is like so much fun, so many good tips. So I had to mention this. And as a former ELA teacher, me talking about math, it can be a little uncomfortable. But I've got some folks that are math lovers, or if you're like me and you struggle with math, you need something that's going to support you. So inside of OneNote, and I didn't go into it, but because there's a math solver tool inside of OneNote, but Microsoft has this free app, and I was playing around with this, and I thought this was really, really cool. So it is available on both Android, Google Play Store, and iOS. And I can go in, and these are I'm going to show 2 little screen grabs of this experience. So when I open it, I'm going to pause that one. We're going to play this one. If you notice, when I log in, I can open up this ability. I can screenshot and take a picture, or I can write with my finger and it's going to figure out my problem. And then it's going to show me how to solve for it. So we solve for X. The answer was 7. Oh, wait, there was the graph. Oh, wait, there's a quiz feature built in. There's tutorial videos I can go to. So for me, who struggled with math, this would be a game changer. There's even a web-based option. There's a web-based option for the math tool as well, but take a look at this. So if I go into this part, let's go back here. And after I've solved for X, I can go over here and say, show me the steps. So once it's shown me, I can see, all right, what's step 1? Okay. What was step 2? Got it. All right. What's step 3? Like it. All right. Step 4. All right. This is how we got to the solution. So for me, as a struggling math student, this would be a game changer. So I can also use the ability to open up my app and scan a problem I've written. So on a piece of paper. So if you have a handout that your students have, they can use it. It will pull it into the app and it will help them solve. But this new feature of the quizzes just went live pretty recently, and you want to definitely check that out. So the Math Solver, great resource for your students that struggle with math. And I pointed out that check accessibility is available in Word and PowerPoint to make sure that you have included elements, or you don't have anything in there that's going to make it hard or too much for students, to access that content. And last but not least, and then I'm gonna wrap it up, is Sway. And if you're not using Sway to me is like PowerPoint on steroids. I've done several sessions with students using Sway because the teachers wanted them to do something other than a PowerPoint. No slide on PowerPoint. PowerPoint has its purpose, but for me, I want my students, when they're creating presentations, I want them to focus on the content, not so much on the bells and whistles. And when I was in the classroom, they would spend so much time on, I need this word to spin in and this to spin out, and I don't need that. I need you to focus on the content. And Sway allows you to do that. So sway.office.com, it's in your Office 365 apps. But if you don't have Office 365, you can use this as a Google user as well, because you can just go to sway.com and access it. And it is a really cool tool. And so this is actually screen grabs from one that I did. So you can embed in video, you can embed in text, you can bring in social media stuff, you can embed in hyperlinks, and you can make it an engaging presentation, whether it is linear or turns pages like a book. One of my media specialists is working on one right now for her orientation for back to school. She's building it out in Sway. I did a project earlier this year with students that were in an AP seminar class, and they needed to have a different presentation tool for their different current topics they were talking about. And they really liked Sway because they were able to kind of mix it up, and the design principles were really cool because it was drag and drop and easy to use. Additionally, we did a project on Tales from your neighborhood, and we use Sway as that presentation tool. So Sway is just one of my favorite tools for using presentations, for you to kind of jazz them up, but really allow students to focus on the content. And what's really cool is they've released a feature that if you type up your information in Microsoft Word, and to me, this is a game changer, type it up in Microsoft Word. So have students do the planning part, and then there's a button to push it into a Sway. So for me, as an ELA teacher, where I need you to brainstorm and really kind of think through what you're going to include before you start with the bells and whistles, that's a really cool option to be able to do that. So a lot. And I love that Pam says, I'm going to have to watch this a few times, #drinking from the fire hose. I'm sorry if it was a lot. I got really excited. I had lots of things to share, but that's the good news, is you can go back and watch the archive and check it out. And hopefully you got at least one tip trick, one idea, or a tool that you did not know that you could use. So any questions, comments, thoughts, wonderings, ponderings, anything that you went, wow, that was really awesome and I'm super excited about it? Just curious. All right. I did want to point out, if you aren't checking out my resources at techtips411.com, please do so. There's tons of stuff on there, lots of tutorials, resources, and information that you might find beneficial as you are planning for the upcoming school year. And if you are not already registered and signed up to get my weekly Tech Tips 411 newsletter, you can sign up for that. It will resume at the end of July when we start back to school, but you can go back and check out the archives. But go ahead and sign up now if you're not already subscribed. Thank you to those of you that tuned in while I was streaming to Facebook. But if you haven't checked out my Facebook page, it has a number of resources there as well. I stream to there. I stream to both Facebook and YouTube. And I also stream. It's trying to take me to the Facebook page right now. That's not where I was trying to go. See, I got so excited, I started clicking on it. All right. So also, you can tune in, check out the archives on YouTube. You can check out my quick tip tutorials, all sorts of stuff, lesson ideas. And last but not least, you can grab stuff off of my mobile app. If you don't already have the mobile app, go ahead and grab that so you can get everything in the palm of your hand. Whew. This was a long one. This was a good one, I hope. If you are tuning in from the future, thank you for your time. If you were here with me today, give me a thumbs up or like if you like this video, you found it beneficial. I would certainly love to hear that. Good news is I've got just a few more sessions coming up. This is the last week. Today we had Office 365 tips and tricks. Tomorrow I'll be talking about screen recording tools. On Wednesday, it will be all about video creation tools. On Thursday, creating with Canva. And I'm going to end this summer PD series talking about everything that has to do with Bitmoji. So I would love for you to tune in for any of those sessions as they come up. If you find that interesting, please join me. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel so that you know what's coming up on future sessions. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Hope you found this beneficial. Let's see what we got here. Already shared on my Facebook page. Love it. Thank you, Tasha. This is high praise. This was awesome. Glad you enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much for your time.